Just go?
Yes, you're good for now.
I'm good for now?
When we sing, I'll give you a mic.
Okay.
We already have it.
All right, so everybody can hear me, right? You can't hear me, raise your hand. Cannot. Okay. Thank you so much. You really have to enjoy aging, right? Because we are thinking that with the new recommendations coming out for CDC, that we may start to restrict again, just for the safety and well-being of everyone. And we're going to watch this closely. Right now, where we stand is at the end of the month. So we have 2 more Sundays that we will gather, and then perhaps we will go back to being completely online unless something is improved in the future. And this will be our last Sunday that the choir will sing indefinitely. We'll be continuing to rehearse and, I think I'm about 12 feet from you all. We'll be continuing to rehearse and develop, I won't say perfect our craft, but I will say develop our craft for the happiness and the well-being of all beings. And we consider music a universal language that can touch the heart and bypass the conceptual faculty. I won't say the mental faculty, but the conceptual faculty. And that's what our whole practice is about. It's about moving beyond words to the truth of things that we can intuitively know and understand and be guided by. But somehow our perceptual faculty has trumped our innate capacity to identify and know what and how things are. And that's the great challenge for humankind if we don't want to erroneously destroy everything. And so first you have to tell me what the 2 songs were. I think I know. Somebody gave me a paper coming in the door. Oh yeah, I love that. And what's that? Okay. Oh, I love it. So wonderful. I'll remember my part. If I don't, go ahead. You can judge me. Okay, so let us just open up this morning. Just grateful for this moment of gathering together, because who knows, it may be the last time. And so we're just really grateful for this moment, this coming together, this being together with good friends in the Dharma. And this is the Dharma means the truth. Good friends in the truth, in the truth. Incense burning, all space is full with the fragrance. One wouldn't smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere with utmost sincerity. All prudence of you. We pay homage to offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattva and the Brahmasatva. We pay homage to offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattva and the Brahmasatva. We pay homage, we offer clouds of So if the choir will come, could you open the back door as well? And yeah, and open that last window. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
No. Is that on? Yeah, sorry. Is anybody? Here I am, down on my knees again, surrendering all, surrendering all. Find me here as you draw me, desperate for you, desperate for you. I surrender to you, compassionate wisdom, truth. I want to know more. I want to know more. I surrender to you, compassionate wisdom, truth. I want to know more. I want to know more. Wish my soul, mercy and grace, grateful, hunger and thirst, hunger and thirst. With arms stretched wide, I know you hear my cry. Speak to me now, speak to me now. Like a rushing wind, peace comes flooding in, forgiveness in you, anger subdued, abandoning hate and pain. Now I'm whole, starting anew. Friend, how about you? Hindrances fall, stillness of mind will sway the restless and scared, and peace can be shared. Oh, I surrender to you, compassionate wisdom, truth. I want to know more. I want to know more. I surrender to you, compassionate wisdom, truth. I want to Sister, before you sit down, um, I surrender to you compassionate wisdom, truth. I want to know more. So my talk today is going to be, I know you came to hear Buddhist Dharma talk, but mostly I'm going to be speaking through the voice of Lao Tzu today. You know, a rose by any name is still a rose, is that right? Yeah, so we don't have to like draw so many identifying lines and segregate ourselves. If we just speak to what is true, then anybody can understand that language. I think that there's a deep thirst and a cry for one who doesn't know, who's perplexed by life, who's fearful and who's anxious about what the future holds, who's not sure about things that they see or what they even understand. I think that there is a thirst for within them and a hunger to really know the truth. And so the sages throughout time have encountered this capacity to lay down their own assumptions about things, to be open, to really see how things actually are, no matter how much it costs them. And this we call an entering into selflessness that ultimately results in what we call no self. Of course, there's a self. I'm sitting right here and I'm talking to you. I hope you all are out there and that you're not just a mirage in my head. So we have to understand languaging and use languaging in a certain way that we don't draw an idiot's conclusion, but that we can use it to just help us to really, oh, that breeze feels good. It can help us to really make the highest and best use of each and every moment in our lives to we use the word save to encompass everything that's needed, everything that is positive, positive in the sense of dynamic, not in the sense of positive as opposed to negative, but in the sense of everything that is dynamic, that is a kind of orientation to action that is beneficial, that is useful, that is appropriate for the moment, and that uplifts and encourages, and that interjects or infuses hope and vitality into the moment. And so in the Tao Te Ching, there's a chapter that is often very confusing and conflicting. And I wanted to shed a little light on it to let you see how simple the Dharma is. That's when Panyadeep and I were in China, and we were studying with great master Chenzang Long. He's Taoist, and he was actually the 16th patriarch of the Longman Taoist sect, the School of Complete Reality. Um, and and he looked at me. He was okay with Panyadeepa, but he looked at me and said, "Buddhism is for you." And I said, "No." I looked at that. I'm not interested in that. He said, "No, Buddhism is for you." But I'm so glad that he did that because, and then he went on and proceeded to take me over to some Buddhist nuns nunnery and had them ordain me. So when you get back to the United States, you just go and hook up with some of those, and my feelings were hurt. Like, I mean, I admit I didn't understand Taoism. That's why I was studying. I was trying to understand. I would look upon the deep and say, these things are like, I mean, who can utter them? They're so lofty. Who can understand them? You know, and I was looking for something that seemed higher than me, because I was like, if whatever I have, whatever intellect, whatever understanding, whatever wisdom, whatever compassion I have, if this is the highest you can get, then we are in terrible shape and we are in trouble, because I know my own virtue and I know that it was lacking, still is lacking, but I know that there was something more, something greater that would be possible for a person like me, and I was seeking and searching for that. So I'm reaching for this thing, and the sayings are lofty, but I'm like just gobbling them down and spouting them out, but they only have the power commensurate to the realization that's in you, though. You know, that's why somebody can be talking, they can be saying all them words, mumbo jumbo jumbo mumbo, and it just like it just falls flat on the ground. And sometimes you wonder, well, is it me or is it them? But if the realization is not there, maybe not in its fullness, but at least in part, then it's going to fall flat because there's no energy for the words to ride upon that can penetrate uh, the heart and the mind of the hearer. That's one side of it. The other side is if there is the energy there and it penetrates, uh, then the hearer who can be penetrated by those words can also recognize whether the giver of the words have it or not. And so it's in this way that we haltingly search for truth. And then when we find it, we have to decide what we're going to do for it. When that thing hits your heart and it's requiring a certain amount of surrenders, can you do that? Like, I don't know, and we always say that we can, but when we're called upon to do it, that it's a little different. It's a little different thing. And so I love the Buddha Master's teachings on cultivation. Um, uh, His Holiness Doji Chang Buddha III, because he constantly points us to that cultivation piece. We love the intellectual stimulation piece. We love talking about it and speaking of it as if we possess it. But when it comes time to actually walking it out, you know, and many times we like woefully fail. It's like, that's all right, just recognize that you failed at that right there and try to do better next time. Resolve to do better next time. But in order to do that, we have to be able to clearly see the failure and clearly acknowledge the failure. Honesty, somebody said that we're all pathological liars because we believe our own lies, or we want to believe them, we want to try to make other people believe them. But it first takes a radical honesty, not about judging others' honesty, but about our own honesty, about what's really going on in our mind, what we're really thinking, what we're really contemplating, what we're really hoping, what our true aspiration is. And many times we don't even know what it is. We haven't scratched deep enough, or we have been deluded by our own thoughts, our habitual tendencies. We've lied to ourselves so many times. We believe it to be true. You know, especially when we talk about aspirations of selflessness and magnanimous generosity and equanimity. So that's why some of us sit come to a retreat and sit on a meditation cushion for 10 hours and get up looking so holy and spiritual that whole time, and then their mind was going in circles. That song, you got me go in circles, round and around I go, but coming up looking a certain way. And then we start to believe we are that way. And we fall deeper into a delusion because we're not adding, there's no added value to it. We're not adding to it. We're just concretizing our delusion. And so the Buddha says that our emphasis should be on action. That's the true indicator, of our commitment to our great vows. And he says, don't be in such a hurry to take on so many vows. Just take on what you can actually walk in, what you can actually live up to. So it's better to take 2 vows and live those than to take 100 vows and don't live any of them. Only live 2. Just take the 2. And so it's wonderful to know these things, to know that we have the freedom, because sometimes we're looking at on the surface at something that we see that looks so beautiful, and we get caught up in the romanticism of it and think that, oh, if I only do that, then I will reach, a certain height. Only if I take up that. But he says, no, the taking up of something is based on one's own true heart's desire, not just the outward taking up of it, but being all in, being all in. And when we are all in, it stimulates and it energizes the environment. Everybody makes progress. That's what's happening right here, Harvard, right now. Everybody is making progress, and nobody can say, "Well, it's because of me," but it's just the collective formulation of a surrender to truth, compassionate wisdom, truth. We want to know more. And so at a time when things are opening up and people are able to come back in and the room is starting to fill up again, I'm really sort of sad that we might have to take a step back. Let's wait 2 more weeks and see. But, we're like at capacity with how things are in distancing right now to be able to hold anyone else in our room. And Father Weather has no concern about our agenda. So if we say we're going to meet outside and then we have the rain, who's going to sit through the rain in the rain and listen to the Dharma talk? I mean, I see hands going up right now. Actually, I believe you would. um, but so if it's raining, I'm not leaving my house, and I'll be the only one standing out in the rain waiting for folk to come. So since I know this, I'm not even going to set that up. Uh, so today I wanted to just read a little bit, and this might sound contrary, but if you will allow me a few minutes to unpack it, I think we can understand it very, very quickly. Lao Tzu says, if everyone understands the beautiful as beauty, then it's ugly. If everyone understands goodness as good, it's not good at all. So the fewer who know me, the more valuable I am. Oh, this process of becoming invisible, hard pill to swallow, because we all want to be visible. We all want to be known. That's part of the human nature and part of the human ignorance and the part that separates us from each other and from everything else. He says, but this is what you should understand, is and is not are mutually arising. Difficult and easy are complementary. Long and short arise from comparison. Higher and lower are interdependent, and before and after accompany each other. And this is why the sage manages affairs of non-action and why he performs wordless teachings. Now, we all come to hear something, but it's about the wordless teachings that are the most important. And that's why when we recognize that our actions do speak louder than words, we will look to our actions to see what we are actually saying. It says the myriad things are made without the slightest word. Nature gives birth, and yet it does not try to possess. It acts, but it does not demand subservience. It is deserving of merit, yet it claims no merit. And only because it claims no merit is it indispensable. Indispensable. So there's something about us in life that seems to run counter to this kind of thought, that makes human life a problem for us. We possess some flaw, you could say, that has to, that's made our species insensitive to just the correct flow and the correct order of things. And who we call, or who the sages call the ignorant, are people who are ignorant of this fact. And so the sages, through their teachings, try to awaken us to it. And what it requires is to undergo a fundamental change in our perspective of things. It's not trying to change things, but change the way we look at and hold and therefore act in the face of things like, and it's necessary for us to disentangle then ourselves from the beliefs that we've lived by that have established these perspectives that we hold. Um, and if we can, and this perspective has arisen due to the ways that we have formulated or put together words and then use the words um, to inform us rather than uh, experiencing life directly. And that's why we can talk about peace and tranquility and harmony and all of that, and yet have no inner peace, no tranquility, no harmony. But we know how to spell it, P-E-A-C-E, not P-I-E-C-E. We know, how to define it. We know how to make ourselves look like we have it. Um, we know and all of this is wrapped around the word, the definition of the word, and how we will express outwardly according to our understanding of the definition of the word. But our intellectual lives being impermeated this way with words and the definitions and ideas expressed in language have become the very obstacle uh, to the innate wisdom that is there. And so all the Buddhas and the 10 directions and throughout space and time have been trying to let us know that that is the obstacle to true wisdom. Actually, intuition has become a dirty word. Like don't rely on that, you know, and 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 we have to really understand the context in which intuition has been applied and who it was, you know, uh, applied to. And that was mostly women, and they call it like women's intuition, bah humbug. That's just their emotionalism, their this, their that. And throughout just about the whole not always, but in the modern era, which I would call the last 6,000 years, uh, because this uh, threat, because there has been an internal cultivation, an internal yielding way in us, the rise of patriarchy has tried to suppress and stamp out the value of intuition, the inner knowing, you know, intuition, the inner knowing, and that there is even such capacity for that. And it has been stamped out in many ways, like for certain groups of people who have still the cultivation of that intuition, like making it against the law to go to school. It was that way in this country for a group of people, against the law for them to learn. It's that way in many countries today concerning females. Their girls will never go to school, against the law. And so there is this intellectual life we can live, and we may come together with it if everyone understands the beautiful as beauty, it is ugly. If everyone understands the goodness as good, it is not good at all. So there comes ways that we fix and fashion our societies to try to control the masses of the people, so that if the 99 stay ignorant, that 1% that is controlling then has the privilege of enjoying that which belongs to the whole. So in our lives, if we look carefully, we can see these little pockets of affluence, these pockets of influence, these special places that we hold within our society that say we are superior to, we are better than, we're more deserving of. And they stick to us like so many blocks of dirt and filth. And after a while, we don't even know that we are dirty, because we ask each other, are we all right? Yeah, we all right. And that's how countries do with countries, and groups of people within countries do with groups of people. How it even filters on down to our families, of some of the black sheep of the family. How come everything negative has black in front of it? The black sheep of the family. You know, good thing I'm not offended by such things. and so and so we find this way, you know, we start differentiating, finding ways to divide. We have children, we have stepchildren. What the hell is that? You know, once you take them in, and this is my stepdaughter, these are mine, and this is my stepdaughter, you know, and just these ways that we think about things and hold things, and it becomes acceptable in society, and we take them on, and we really don't even mean anything by it. We don't even see the danger and the harm in it. We're being challenged today just by terms around gender, and I admit that sometimes it's a challenge for me because it was beat into me about the singular and plural and pronouns singular and plural, and I'm just trying now to be ambivalent about it, but the whole brain just kicks right in with this thing. So there's a different understanding around it for me today. There's a different belief and acceptance around it. You know, I used to be conservative. Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I can't even imagine what I have to be conservative about. But I did. I did. You know, because I got caught up in something, in the ways of the world. Yeah, I was compassionate, all right. You know, but I mentioned it yesterday in our conference lesson with Master Zizi. I said, you know, I came up in the world of banking. That was my field. And you know, we all knew you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And so but that sounds like spiffy, you know, especially among business folk, you know, and we know that's true too. But but before you realize it, something insidious is in there. It starts to eat away, you know, at your respect for others, you know. So you don't even try to give them what's fair to them. You give them what they negotiated. And if it wasn't much, they didn't get much. You know, so that's it. If you can't run with the big dog, stay on the porch. You know, and before you know it, you have become something entirely different. Your own heart condemns you. You have to figure out what to do about that. I said, you know what? I've been Democratic all my life. This is not a political talk, it's just a statement of truth. A Democrat all my life, you know, wanting to help people. And I still want to help people, but I want to determine how now that I have money. And so, you know, something shifted with that. And I said, I better get on the Republican side because they're going to help me keep my money. And I can determine how I want to share it with other people, just little by little. You see, cutting away at people. Before you know it, you're somebody else. You don't even know how you got there. After a while, you don't even know you're somebody else. You just think this is me. And that's how the the mind of the heart, I'm speaking of, gets clouded over by the supremacy of language and languaging that informs and then begins to guide and direct our everyday actions. And so the sages encourage us that we have to make a definite, concrete step in a different direction. And it starts to not feel comfortable. You know, Maureen says, sings a song that says, let's get uncomfortable and stop hiding in our privilege. Come on, let's be vulnerable. That doesn't feel so good. It's a little bit better when you're in a group where everybody has decided that they want to get uncomfortable, that they want to stop hiding in their privilege, that they want to become vulnerable. And then we can begin to look at ourselves and we can begin to step out of those ways that our own heart has condemned us. And before we know it, we recognize that the only ones who have been our great enemy is ourselves. And we stop blaming other folks for things. We look at where we are complicit, where we are part, and we just start trying to work right there on what we can do to make things better. And the only way we can make things better is by being better. I know it's a little warm in here. We do have several air conditioners, you know, but the recommendation has been to let the air flow free. So if you can tolerate a little bit of heat, you think you got If you got it, I got like lots of lights up here. So if you see me shining on the screen, that's that's what it that's what it is. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have a little bit of discomfort for a few moments of wisdom that we can take home and chew on, and we can look and examine our words and our actions and our speech. And then, what it does is it starts to eliminate the judgments that we hold around things. And we can recognize that, like the values that we have are human convictions that we project onto the world by the perceptions that we already have, what we see, how we see, how we think, you know, what we taste, touch, and smell. And that's just a small bit of the whole thing. But we take this little bit and magnify it, we color it, and we lay it over the situation, and we say, like, that's what it is. It doesn't mean that we can't make a personal judgment for ourselves, what position we will hold in something. It doesn't mean that let somebody who's beating you continue to beat you because that's a perception that you're being beaten or that they don't like you. You might have to say to them, you don't have to go away mad, but you got to go away, and really don't get mad. Just take the action that needs to be taken. Most of the time, we're angry and upset because we didn't take the action that we needed to take. We know something has to be done. We want you to take the action, you know, because I don't want to be seen as the bad guy, or because I don't want to take the responsibility for making the decision that I need to make. That's best for me and everybody concerned. Me and everybody concerned. Me and everybody. So in the beginning, we are taking the decision, making the decision that's best for us, or what's even worse, we're making the decision that's best for everybody else, but not with the true understanding, just with recognition or with submission or with anger. And none of those are any good. So we start to find out about ourselves, where we really are with something. We start to ponder that. You can only be as good to others as you are to yourself. You can only be as generous with others as you are with yourself. I'm talking about true generosity. Not feigned generosity, but trying to compensate for something more. I'm talking about true. And you know when it's true because it's spontaneous. It's like your great wish. It rises up in your heart. It's like, I'm so thankful that I came this way, and because there's something I can do. It's some way I can serve. I'm thinking today, you all know I went to see Buddha Master last week. We were already scheduled to go this week. We're leaving Friday. I think there 10 of us that are going to be there studying for 10 days and having an audience with him. And as our teacher, he has hundreds of thousands of disciples, but he will take the time for 10 of us for a private audience. It's hard for me with a handful to find time for a private audience with two. I don't even know how he does it. It's like, I don't know, just have frames of time overlapping that he gets to everybody. It's amazing. give you credit for it. I'm going to recognize that this is not be appearing in my reality right now, except that I had a part in producing this. Now, that part could just be associating with you. But still, I take the responsibility for it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to come back at you on that. I'm just going to decide what my posture is for how I want to set up the next moment. And it might be with you, and it might not be with you. Or it might be that I have to look at myself and make some adjustment right there. You know, and this doesn't have to get personal, because it's really not personal. It's truly impersonal. But when we hold everything as personal, because we think we're all individuated, then we become confused, disoriented, unhappy, anxious, fearful, hateful, isolated, detached, depressed. That's where all of those kinds of feelings come from. But when you little by little learn to hold the moment, accepting that it could not be here in this moment, except that the conditions for it have moved forward, then you can look at it and you can just decide what you're going to do with it. Yeah. Some of us only know how to straighten out a thing by first arousing the energy of anger to give us enough impetus. That's just our fearfulness. But if we can just learn to just be one step removed and say what needs to be said, or maybe nothing needs to be said, just let it go. I remember somebody was accusing me of something, and I was really perturbed, and some of the members were too, and they was like, Punny Body, you and Punny Deep have to do something about this. It wasn't directed towards Punny Deep, it was directed towards me. We said, you got to do something about it. You know, Punny Deep very rarely does anything about anything. Anything he lets things be. I'm not quite that non-reactive. But I try to do my best with it. And so I was about to handle this. And I was talking to some other monk friends, and they said, why? That's not our way. He said, that's not, speaking of the monastic way, that's not the monastic way. You know, and our way meant, you know, monks, because they didn't have the nuns in the Theravada until we decided we are here. You know, and we sort of like named ourselves and moved on with it. And knowing that that was the Buddha's desire for us to have full access to the wisdom teachings and to reestablish that balance, you know, and if they couldn't figure that out, we certainly could. And so now it's you know, it's getting there. It's you know, the fullness of it. I mean, we're nowhere near you know, it being an accepted notion, but there are enough of us now that we can carry on, and those of us who are pioneers in that effort, we can pass the torch. And they say in Thailand that there are no nuns, and there's like 500. Just can't say they're none. I mean, in fact, there are. You know, they're living that life, and that's what makes it real, regardless of what words you say. That's what makes it real. So sometimes we have to march on in the realness of something, in spite of what's being said or spoken. So they said that's not our way to defend ourselves. They said, don't say anything. He said, but also don't let it be true. But he was telling me, just look within yourself. Is it true? If it's true, fix it. If it's not true, in time, it will take care of itself. The Buddha was accused of fostering a child, and the woman came and gave him. He was at a big assembly. She brought the baby up and said, "Here, this is your child. Take it, baby." The Buddha just took the baby. That's it, and went on with this discourse. Sometime later, she came back to get the child and to acknowledge that it wasn't baby. But I bet you, those people that were sitting in there, that when brought the baby, they weren't sitting when she came back in private to retrieve her. So a lot of people went away from it with an idea, an impression based on words. We should be careful about the words that we utter about people. You know, we should be careful about what we say. We should be careful in the judgments we get together and make, because we only see a small part of what something is. And to come back later and feel sorry for it does not erase the resultant fruit of what we have already set into motion. So there's a price that we pay for this. I hope everybody's listening. And it won't be a repercussion from that person, but it will be you fighting against the universal law of cause and effect. You should know this. And so he encourages us, and my timing is getting good, isn't it? So he takes us toward here what's called Wu Wei. Wu Wei being non-striving. And it doesn't mean that we are not endeavoring, but we're not trying to force something in a way that benefits us to the exclusion of everybody else. And what happens is that when we begin to practice Wu Wei, there's less of a self at the center of their universe. They become more engaged in whatever is going on around them. Wherever you are, there you are. So that's different from I am here, and in the center of my universe, these things are all around me. To wherever I am, whatever is going on, I am part of that. And when that starts to give you a sense of value and a sense of purpose, you could be anywhere. And then all manner of good work can be accomplished without an I. And there can be the doing. It's simply the doing. And yet, there is no doer. And that is the doorway, my friends, to what we call the deathless. So we move from this personal to the deathless without cheating. Because bit by bit, we carve away these notions that of who I am and what I am, what I want, and what I deserve, and what I see. We begin to like flow just in the union of everything that is there. And like, water seeks its own level, and cream rises to the top. So this way of leading up is one of allowance rather than one of stress and press. And in that allowing, we actually rise to the level of our intrinsic nature, that true suchness, that emptiness, that tranquility, that has come from, or not has come from, but that will allow us to abide in one way, non-doing, doing. So, I think that's really all that I want to say, except that our language will change. And where we see, weakness or poverty, injury, there will cease to be concepts that we have. We will instead see opportunity to service us, a purpose for our presence, a purpose for our being. We will heartily engage, and we this is the good Dharma for today. And although things may change for us from moment to moment, if we take this Dharma in us and about